We're live. All right. Hi, everyone. This is our third edition of doing the story history of live streams. I can already see that the chill dude on a couch is here. So, hi, how you doing, man? Cheers that you could make it. What we're doing today was chosen by the people in the last stream we did, which was back in January, and they decided to go with Testament. So that's what we've decided to do for this one. So before we get into it, John's back with me again. How you doing, man? And we lost him. That's a brilliant start. Whoops. Okay.
You right? Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. I wasn't sure what happened there, whether it was an internet connection or what. I don't know.
It's probably mine.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I was just saying, I just basically, just said like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, doing good. Right. I have because I wrote like all my notes, but I have it in like a Google Drive doc. So that one I'm gonna pull the hood up on the other side of my screen.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I've got mine. So I've got my computer behind my laptop what I'm streaming this on. So I'm sort of looking over like that at my notes. But So let's just get straight into it, shall we? So I was going to do the 80s, 2000s. John's going to do the 90s and the 2010s up to present. So let's just get straight into it. So if anyone's watching this after the fact, they won't be getting too bored right now. So let's start with the 80s. So the band formed in 1983 in the Bay Area, and they were originally named the Legacy by guitarist Eric Peterson, and his cousin Derek Ramirez was also playing guitar. And then after that, they added Louis Clemente on the drums, Steve Souza on the vocals, and Greg Christiansen, just Christian, on the bass. And then started playing clubs and shows in that area with bands such as Slayer and Death Angel and all them other Bay Area bands. In 1985, Clemente left the band and was replaced by Mike Ronchetti. And then after that, Derek Ramirez left and was replaced by Alex Skolnick, who I think at the time was about 17 or 18. Just sort of left his tutorage from Joe Satriani at the time. And just an unbelievable acquisition, really, that kind of made the band what it is, I think, anyway. And then after that, they started writing their own material and released a demo, 4-track demo. And then in 1986 was when Steve Souza left the band to join Exodus after they fired Paul Bailoff. And then after that was replaced by Chuck Billy at Steve Souza's suggestion. I think they were like mates at the time. But around that point when he went for the job, Chuck wasn't sure if he could actually sing thrash metal vocals, because at the time he played in a lot of glam metal bands. But Sousa kind of gave him the encouragement to go for it, and then the rest is history, pretty much. After that, Mike left the band, and then they got Louis Clemente back. And then after that, they were signed to Megaforce Records after their demo tape. And then in 1987, whilst recording their first album with Megaforce, they changed their name to Testament after Legacy was already trademarked by a hotel rhythm and blues band, which is a bit strange, but yeah. The name change was suggested by Billy Milano of SOD and MOD. And then they played their last show as Legacy on the 4th of March. After that, they released their debut album, The Legacy. Yeah, I've got all the albums in here. Pretty cool little set, really. You get all the classic albums, but yeah, they released Legacy. Legacy back on the 21st of April. Yeah, and it was distributed by Atlantic Records. Sousa wrote a lot of the lyrics for the album, and it was an instant success with the thrash circles around the Bay Area. Yeah, their music video, Over the Wall, was all over Headbangers Ball and all of them kind of places. And the band quickly managed to increase their exposure because of that music video. And then after that, they went on to secure tours with Anthrax and with Slayer as well. And then they released a live album in Eindhoven around that time as well. And yeah, went on tour with Overkill, Megadeth as well. And yeah, the Legacy is actually done pretty well in terms of sales. They sold over 150,000 copies within the first 3 years of its release, which is pretty damn good, really. And yeah, for me, I think this album is in the top 3 thrash debut of all time. I'm not sure if you would agree with that. I personally think it's fantastic, this album.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I had to mute my mic for a second because like the dogs were barking. Yes, I like that album a lot. I've listened to it. I actually discovered that one like later on. The first Testament album I found was, or actually the one I bought, was Practice What You Preach. That one came out in 1989, and that year I was around 18 years old, and that was when I was getting into metal. And actually, Testament was one of the first, apart from like the big 4 bands that I got into, and that was a good album. I'm sure you'll talk about it in a minute. But definitely the Legacy, really an awesome debut, and the one that follows. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, the one that is going to come up after this. Yeah, in 1988 was when they released their second album, The New Order, was released on the 5th of May, and was a minor commercial success. It peaked at 136 on the Billboard 200, and it sold over 250,000 copies, which is pretty damn good as well. Yeah, the singles off this, Trial by Fire and Nobody's Fault, the Aerosmith cover, helping with that. And then, a massive touring schedule that they had around at the time. And interesting fact about it was that Alex Skolnick said about the album, The New Order, that they got forced to make it pretty much by the label. They were forced into writing it. And then because it was less than 40 minutes long, they had to include another song. So they went with the Aerosmith cover, even though they wrote a song called Reign of Terror. Yes. But they never put it on this, even though they could have done, probably should have done, but it doesn't matter really, because they went on to release it later on in their career. And yeah, for the support, they went on to open for Megadeth. And they toured the United States with a ton of bands. And also they appeared on a festival, Metal Fest in the Netherlands. And they appeared on the Monsters of Rock tour as well. And yeah, this album definitely cemented their place as one of the best thrash metal bands, especially around that time. And yeah, this album is brilliant. This was the album that really truly clicked with me first time I heard it, and it still is my favorite Testament album. I know there's a lot of debate between this and Practice, but yeah, for me, this album is their best album to date. Yeah, so many great songs on here, like Eerie Inhabitants, Into the Pit, Disciples of the Watch. Even the Aerosmith cover is actually really, really good. I think it's a bit underrated.
Yeah, I thought it was like it's kind of a different type of song, because I think I heard the cover first, and then I went back and listened to the original Aerosmith song. And you notice that the original Aerosmith song is actually kind of like a heavy song for them. You know, they recorded it. I forget the album it was on. I believe it was on their second album, and that was like the early 70s. So it was a very like heavy song for that time. But I do like that cover. Like Aerosmith is kind of like not the type of band you would think of a thrash band covering, but I think they made it work.
Oh yeah, definitely. They definitely made it heavy, which I think suited the tone of that album as well, because they just made the song really, really heavy, and it worked really well, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah. So now moving on to 1989, and that's when they released Practice What You Preach. Everybody knows it pretty much, though. On the 4th of August, and they sort of changed some stuff with this album. They changed the lyrical content. They changed the lyrical content, and they also sort of changed their sound a little bit. They sort of added some different elements into this album. And also it was recorded live in the studio, and was the last album to feature their producer at the time, Alex Parials, or whatever his name is. I don't know. But yeah, this was a massively commercial album for Testament. It reached number 77 on the Billboard. Their three main singles of this album, the title track, the ballad, and the Greenhouse Effect, was all over the radio. And then they toured the album for almost a year after that, and it's sold 450,000 copies. So, yeah.
So like I was saying,
go on.
And like I was saying before, that was the first one that I bought when I was young. I think I heard there was this like college radio station that I used to listen to, because back then when I was young, you know, we didn't have internet, so we had and the main radio stations didn't really play metal, so we relied on either Headbangers Ball or these like college or underground like local radio stations where they would play metal, and I think that was where I discovered Testament. And yeah. I also I think they were one of the first thrash bands to like do like a real like ballad. I mean, you can argue that, you know, Metallica did, you know, Fade to Black, but I think that was like a real thrash ballad where it had that like dark tone. They're using like those minor chords, but that's a song I love. You know,
yeah,
I used to listen to the ballad all the time. It was like one of my favorites from that album.
Yeah, it's a pretty good song. Although the thing with this album, and I got that as well from when I went to see him live a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That you know, this might be their most successful album, but unlike Metallica, they don't really play a lot of it. They only really play the title track. They don't really tend to play any of the other songs live.
Okay.
It's not they're not consistent in their set list, let's say.
Okay.
Apart from the title track, Practice What You Preach, which is interesting. But honestly, this, I know like it's there's a like massive debate whether it, you know, this is people's favorites or it was the New Order, the people's favorites. But honestly, I don't know whether it's just a massive dramatic change in the musical style with this album, but it's never really clicked with me as much as the first two did.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't really know why. Maybe it is because the music's a little bit different, and you know, the songs are a little bit more. They're a little bit longer, and there's a lot more, you know, going on in the songs. Yeah, to be honest, I wanted to listen to this again before we're doing this, but I just didn't have time, to be honest. But it's a shame. But yeah, still really, really great album, and yeah, a definite staple in thrash metal. So yeah, now after that, we're going to move on to the 90s now.
Okay, so over
to you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so basically in 1990, you know, this band, they've been pretty busy because they released albums, you know, 87, 88, 89, and then 90 again. They released their fourth studio album, Souls of Black. This one, I don't know, I guess it didn't click with me at first. You know, this was another one that I bought, you know, right when it came out. I had the CD. And I always thought the sound quality, like what you had that one, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll let you comment on this later, but I thought that the sound, like the production really wasn't great, but the songs are good. It's a heavier album. I think it's like maybe like heavier than Practice What You Preach. It's like a little like a darker type of album. And yeah, so it is good. And I remember it wasn't, I don't think they played a lot of like, you know, radio hits. I feel they might have like released it like too quickly afterwards, but you know, that's just what I thought. I know they, later on they recorded a couple of other, they recorded like some, they re-recorded the songs. That's what I'm trying to say. They re-recorded like some of the, I think the title track, Souls of Black. And I remember that one sounded a lot better. But anyway, so they released that. They did the Clash of the Titans tour, which was Megadeth, Slayer, and Suicidal Tendencies. That one I do remember. You know, I didn't go to it, but I remember hearing about it. They went on a few other tours. They opened for Judas Priest on the Painkiller tour. That actually sounds like a pretty cool tour. And they opened for Slayer on the Seasons of the Abyss, which is actually, that's also probably my favorite Slayer album, by the way. They toured in Japan with Anthrax. They toured with Sepultura. And then they released a VHS documentary. It's called Scene Between the Lines. And, you know, it's all about the Souls of Black tour. Had music videos and interviews and stuff. And then, so that's basically 90 and 91. Now,
no, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, I was going to add about this album. I just wanted to say that I think this is a bit underrated.
Yeah.
I do really enjoy this. And ever since I listened to it back, not that long ago, about a month ago or whenever it was, I really started to enjoy it more. And I think it might get a little looked because of what come before it. But I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's cool. I probably haven't listened to that one in a long time, so maybe I need to go back to that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, in 1992, they released another album called The Ritual. So I think this is actually like the first time they went like 2 years without an album. And that one you probably have in the box set, right?
Yeah.
Now this one, in my opinion, it's like Testament's like Black Album. Yeah. I actually I was thinking about picking up that set. I didn't pick it up yet, but
it's good value for money. It's very good value for money.
Yeah, because I had all of those like years ago, but again over the years, like I lost a lot of CDs. But anyway, going back to The Ritual, like I said, it's a little more of a commercial, a little more of like an accessible sound, and I thought it was like more of like they would do. That's like their Black Album, the same thing, like along the lines of like Megadeth with Countdown to Extinction. They made it a little more accessible, but still it's very heavy, and the songs are good. There was like a ballad on it as well. I forget what it's called. Return to Serenity.
Yeah.
Return to Serenity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Return to Serenity.
Cool. And anyway, so that's The Ritual. Again, that's one of those like divisive albums. I think like some fans might not like it. They thought they went too soft, but I always thought it was a good album. It's a little more like traditional type of sound.
Yeah. They definitely changed their sound on this album to kind of go into that, say commercial metal in the 90s sort of. That's what they did aim for on this album. And for what it is, it's pretty good. I mean, you could argue say it's a bit more heavier, a bit more thrashier than like what Metallica, Megadeth were doing at the time, but even still kind of keeping that similar sound to Countdown to Extinction and the Black Album. But and I'll tell you another thing, the title track on here I think is a bit underrated as well.
Oh yeah, the
Ritual, title track, it's a bit underrated to me. We've got some people in the chat. We've got Dan Lord and we've got Trini Grooves. So what's up, guys? Dan Lord. Oh, here we go. I know how to do that now. Yeah. Every band had their Black Album, Overkill. Yeah, that is true. I think quite a lot of bands done that.
Exodus, Force of Habit. That one was a little weird. I think they were kind of like, back then, it was like right in the middle of the grunge years. And, alternative metal was kind of like the thing.
Yeah.
That one it was a little different. I like some of the songs, but I think a lot of people, would say they don't like that one as much. But And Overkill's I Hear Black. I thought that was a decent album.
Yeah. Two albums that I haven't listened to yet, haven't got round to them yet. And then Dan says that it's aged well. I guess he's talking about The Ritual there.
Yeah.
I guess it has. To be honest, I've been listening to it for a while. But
the Nuclear Assault, Something Wicked. That was a pretty cool album. I don't know if you've ever like gotten into that band Nuclear Assault, but
I've never listened to I've never listened to Nuclear Assault.
You might like them. It's kind of like I guess like almost like a crossover thrash. Do you know like Municipal Waste, that band? They're like a band. maybe similar to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, where was I? I was in talking about the ritual. So
yeah, let's carry on.
Yeah, and okay, so I'm like look at my notes here. So anyway, at this point in time, Alex Skolnick, he actually left the band. His last show was Halloween '92, and he wanted to kind of just do other things. And then another member of the band, Louis Clemente, he left the band. So they were replaced by two others who were in the band Forbidden. That's another thrash band, awesome band. The names were Glenn Avalais and Paul Bostaph. They released an EP in 1993 called Return to Apocalyptic City. That was a live EP. And then the next album was called Low from 1994. So this one, pretty cool. They started changing their sounds. They had a guitarist James Murphy, and he played in Death and Obituary, and John Tempesta on drums. So they kind of had like a different lineup, and this was a cool album. Like they had like elements of like death metal, some like groove metal. It wasn't just a straight like thrash. So this is definitely like an underrated album. Low, I think this one doesn't really get a lot of recognition, but they had really great songs. Dogface Gods, that was a really cool song, and they had Trail of Tears. So definitely an underrated album.
Yeah.
So after that, so let me see. Okay, so then
I did check that out. Yeah, I just wanted to say I did check out Low, and I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it when I put it on the other day. It was definitely a bit different to what Testament are known for. But it was different in a good way, and I thought it really worked. And Chuck's vocals were brilliant.
Like in the 90s, I think like they had their most like experimental albums from the 90s, which I will be talking about like right now, because there was Low, and anyway, so right now we're about like in 1995. They're touring. They toured with lots of different metal bands: Machine Head, Korn, Forbidden, At the Gates, so Suffocation. So they're touring with some like new metal bands. They're touring with death metal bands. So again, they're kind of expanding their fan base a little. So after that, John Tempesta, he leaves Testament, and he joins a White Zombie. He's replaced by John Dette, and then he would actually like leave in 95, replaced again by Chris Kontos, and he played a Machine Head. And then did a 1996 club tour where they had Greg Christian, James Murphy, and Chris Kontos. They left the band. So at this time, there was like a lot of people, coming and going in the band. So now, at that time, it was Chris Kontos. He was suggesting to change the name of the band to Dogface Gods. That's a song from Low, but Chuck Billy didn't want to do that. Of course, he wanted to keep Testament, which I thought was a good idea. The next album, called Demonic, that one was very different. It was more of like a death metal album. They had Eric Peterson on lead and rhythm, and they had Derek Ramirez on bass guitar. He played in Dark Angel. So Demonic, if you've listened to that album, you notice like Chuck Billy has like a very different vocal style, more of like that, like darker, like death metal style.
Almost full on death metal. I thought when I heard it.
So again, that's one of those albums that some fans maybe like it, some of them don't.
Yeah, I can definitely see why. I know a lot of people put that one at the bottom.
Yeah, I've seen rankings.
And yeah, the bottom of their rankings, they would put it bottom, but I actually thought it was pretty decent when I heard it. It wasn't as bad as some people think. I mean, I know some people probably would have been put off by the whole death metal side, but in a weird way, it kind of worked.
Yeah,
because they just kept it fresh and different, and they tried something a bit different, and for what it is, it's all right. I can't say that I didn't like it when I was listening to it.
Yeah, so I've always thought it was a good album. Like pretty much all their albums, I wouldn't really say Testament ever really had like a really bad album. But anyway, that most goes to 1998, and they released. Actually, no, let me see. So again, they had some lineup changes, and then in '99 they released The Gathering. Now this is a very underrated album as well because they had a really good lineup because they had Steve DiGiorgio. He played in, him from Death.
Yeah.
He's an awesome bass player. He plays that fretless bass. So he had that like really unique sound from those Death albums. And Dave Lombardo, who he was in Slayer. Now he was in Testament
back in the band now.
Actually, I believe he'll be coming
back in the band now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll mention that later.
Yeah.
But this was, they went from like the death metal of demonic, but now they're kind of moving back towards thrash, but also like a little bit of that like black metal influence. So this was a really kind of like a unique album. I like this one a lot. They have a lot of really great songs on this one. And again, it is kind of underrated because after this one, I think they did take a break for a couple of years. So basically, and actually, that's pretty much the end of my part.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, so I'll let you take over from here. But
okay,
this is going into the year 2000. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, Metal Connections just joined the chat. Cheers for turning up, man. Yeah, we're just about to start going into the 2000s. So yeah, I was going to mention this if you didn't mention it. That after they released The Gathering and toured, James Murphy got diagnosed with brain tumor, and then through various fundraisers that he was able to afford the surgery and then made a full recovery, but he wasn't able to recall anything from the recording sessions of The Gathering. And then not long after that, Chuck Billy also got diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, which affected his lungs and his heart. But his cancer also was treated successfully. And in that August, his friends and obviously friends of the band made a benefit concert called Thrash of the Titans. And that included a lot of like thrash metal musicians. Yeah. And then after that, the show actually featured a reunion of the older members. So Steve Souza formed on vocals and Alex Skolnick come back as well, and Greg Christian as well on the bass. And then on the 4th of September, they released a best of album featuring a lot of their most popular, successful songs, minus anything off Souls of Black. I'm not really sure why that is, but that is the case. And then on October the 24th, they released First Strike Still Deadly, which is considered a studio album, even though I don't think I would count it as a studio album, because it's what it is a load of re-recorded songs from their first 2 albums, obviously with better recording technology. And then they also put Reign of Terror on there as an extra track. And the album featured a lineup of Chuck Billy, Peterson, DiGiorgio, and Alex Skolnick on guitar, and John Pester on the drums. Also, Steve Souza performed the vocals on the last 2 songs. I think that's Alone in the Dark. I believe that's Alone in the Dark. And I think it is. Yeah, it is Alone in the Dark and Reign of Terror. And yeah, I'd never actually listened to this until I checked it out for this. And yeah, they slightly rework and do the songs a little bit different to on the original albums, which I think is cool, because there would have literally have been no point if they just redid the songs how they are on the original recordings. But I still don't think it's a very necessary album to buy, or I mean, it's cool to check it out, but if you haven't, yeah, I thought Reign of Terror was really, really good, especially with Sousa on the vocals. Sort of made it a little bit different, because his vocals are very different to Chuck Billy's anyway. I think we've lost John.
Yeah, I don't know if it's it might be my signal dipping out, but I was hard to that one I actually never listened to. I might have listened to once or twice, but I think the songs are pretty good. That they re-record because first start out, maybe re-record. So really, like a new album, it's just album, for people who maybe like are not like really big fans and they want to, just like have these songs instead of like buying like all the early albums. But I know sometimes bands do it, but.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's a good idea to make some more money by remaking an album, I guess. But it's just something that's a little bit pointless. We've got some comments, so I'm just gonna go through some of these. Dan Lord, you could hear Eric planting seeds for the Dragon Lord album. I have heard of the Dragon Lord stuff, but I haven't actually checked it out. But I know it's like full on black metal. The Dragon Lord albums that Eric Peterson
I heard about that.
Made. Something that I didn't know about them albums, but the Trivium drummer Alex Bent played drums on them albums, which I never knew until I saw an interview with him and he said about that, which is quite interesting. And Metal Connection saying, I missed the low talk. Well, if you want to watch what you've missed, when we're done here, the stream will be on my YouTube channel. So, if there's any parts that you've missed, you can always go back and rewatch it. And obviously if you wanted to comment on low, we'll answer what you want to talk about. And then he just said about never cared about First Strike Still Deadly. It's not an essential. It's definitely not an essential. It's one of them albums where, I don't know, I guess the hardcore Testament fans would check it out. I checked it out especially for this video, to be honest. Would I listen to it again? Maybe not, to be honest. And then Dan Lord, says about their post-reunion albums.
Sterile Super Slick Andy
Snake production. Yeah.
Well,
we'll get to them. We'll get to them very soon. And then, lastly, Metal Connections says Alex Bent is in Trivium. Yep. He's played on their last 3 albums and is unbelievable drummer. So, I can see why Eric Peterson wanted to get him for the Dragon Lord albums. But, let's swiftly move on to 2003. And this is when Chuck Billy made a full recovery from his treatment. And then the band started playing live again with a new drummer, John Allen of Sadus. And then not long after that, he was out. They changed their lineup for some summer festivals. And John Allen was replaced by Paul Bospath. Returning to the band. And then lead guitarist Steve Smith departed to join Nevermore and was replaced by ex-Halford guitarist Mike. Oh my God, I can't even pronounce that. Mike Shelsiak. I'm going to guess it's that. And then after, this is quite fun. I thought this was quite funny. After Steve Smith's departure, Eric Peterson fell down a flight of stairs, breaking his leg. So they had to get Steve Smith back to play a couple of shows. Whilst, Eric Peterson was getting some. Yeah, that's it. He's just said it there. Metal Mike, yeah. Not Metal Mickey, but Metal Mike. And then on August 24th, they released another comp called Days of Darkness. Disc 1 featured songs from the Demonic and Gathering albums, and then the Disc 2 was the whole First Strike is Still Deadly album. 2005, in May of that year, Testament would play a brief Europe-only reunion tour called the 10 Days of May, featuring the old classic lineup. And then the drums was shared between John Tempesta and Louis Clemente. After the success of the initial tour dates, Testament announced more dates with the classic lineup around Europe, United States, and Japan. Later in that year, Alex Skolnick toured with his jazz band, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And then Testament went on to release a live DVD and CD called Live in London. The DVD also included interviews with the band where they stated at the time that they intended on making a new album with the classic lineup, and that the members were pretty happy that the classic lineup was back together. And then after that, they a long out of print documentary, Seen Between the Lines, was released on DVD. 2006, in March, they played for the first time in the Middle East at the Dubai Desert Rock Festival, and they played with Iron Maiden, Megadeth, Real Big Fish, and Three Doors Down on that tour. Yeah. Dan Lord coming through saying, yeah, that's the thing. Around this time in the 2000s, they really weren't doing a lot.
If you think about it, there was like a really big gap between albums because they released The Gathering in '99. And, if you don't count that First Strike Still Deadly, the next studio album was, I believe, 2008, which I'm sure you'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute.
A really big gap.
But, I mean, it is surprising that they kept going. I mean, with all the lineup changes and obviously Chuck getting his cancer and stuff like that, they could easily, they could easily have just thought, oh, you know what, let's just pack it in and let's just, do it. Let's just make another band or something or form. Eric Peterson could easily have just carried on with his Dragon Lord stuff. Or, Metal Connection said it was all worth it with the album that they made after that. Yeah, we'll be getting there very soon, don't you worry. So, in 2007, they released another comp called Spitfire Collection, which only featured Spitfire album releases. So, included songs from a couple of live shows, Demonic the Gathering, and the first Still Strikes Deadly. And in July 2007, the band played a show at the Jack's nightclub in Virginia with Paul Bospath on the drums. And then after that, it was confirmed that he was going to be officially in the band to record the new album. And then at that show, they debuted a song off the Formation of Damnation called Afterlife, which is pretty cool. And then after that, they were signed to Nuclear Blast. And then in 2008, they played on Ozzy Osbourne's Monsters Rock Festival in Canada. And then on the 29th of April, they released their first proper album in 9 years, The Formation of Damnation. And this is the first Testament album to feature Alex Skolnick on guitar since The Ritual, and the first to feature Greg Christian since Low. This album was a pretty big album. It debuted at number 59 on the Billboard 200, and in the first week it sold nearly 12,000 copies. It won the Metal Hammer Golden Gods Album of the Year, beating a few bands, Children of Bodom, Avenged Sevenfold, and Down, and Treu. And then quite a lot of other metal outlets awarded it the Album of the Year that year. And to be honest, listening to it, I can understand why, because the album is absolutely brilliant from the first note to the last note, just all absolutely killer, and possibly one of their best albums that they've ever made.
Yeah. That was a great comeback album.
Yeah.
Talking about 9/11. But I just want to let you.
Yeah. It's a shame because we keep losing some connection. I don't know whether it's my end or your end. I don't know, to be honest. Let's go through some comments. I didn't know that he auditioned for Sepultura. Was that around when Max Cavalera left the band? It must have been. I didn't know that. Oh, we've completely lost John. And now he's come back.
Yeah.
Hello.
Actually, I was going to say, I know you like to do those what if scenarios. Would be an interesting one as well.
Yeah. What if Chuck Billy joined Sepultura? That's actually a really good one. I'll make a note of that, and we'll see if we can make it happen at some point. Let's have a look through some of these. Yeah, the album revived the band. Yeah, I'd agree with that because I mean at the time they weren't really doing a lot. And then that album come out and all of a sudden Testament are everywhere, and that kind of began their popularity again. It sort of reignited their popularity. Obviously, we'll go into the 2010s, but maybe they wouldn't have that successful period they've had over the last 10 years or so without the formation of Damnation doing so well. Album, hang on, let's go through these. So many standout tracks. Oh yeah. When I checked it out last week for this video again, because I hadn't listened to it before then, and yeah, every song was 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. They're all brilliant. I wouldn't say I was surprised because I know that this band, they don't really tend to make a lot of rubbish albums. I don't think they have made a rubbish album. But the formation of Damnation was fantastic. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
And then lastly, when Max left, there's some recordings of Chuck doing Choke on YouTube. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's cool. The first song, right?
Yeah. I believe that's the first song off. That would be Against, wouldn't it? Yeah. What was a Do or Die album? Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. That they had something to prove on that album. I guess after being away for so long and making some albums in the 90s that the old school fans probably weren't a massive fan of, they probably wanted to make something that kind of makes everybody sort of stop and look and think, oh, the Old Testament is back. The New Testament, Old Testament. But so let's just finish off the 2000s and then we can move on to the 2010s. So after that, they were confirmed to be the main event at the Gilman Fest, a rock festival which was held in Venezuela. And then after that, in June, they headlined the third stage at Download. The band also toured the United States with being a support for Judas Priest, Heaven and Hell, and Motorhead on the Metal Masters tour. That would have been a pretty interesting show.
Yeah.
And then the band recruited ex-Megadeth and King Diamond guitarist Glenn Drover to fill in for their Mexico tour dates because of Alex Skolnick's commitment with his jazz band, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I believe he's still in that band, but I don't think they've actually done anything for quite a while. I don't believe. I think it's interesting though that Alex Skolnick has got like an extra outlet like that, just to drop the thrash and then just go into something completely different like jazz.
See, he's always been that type of guitarist who kind of likes to experiment with different styles. And then when you're in a thrash band, sometimes you might kind of feel that you're kind of stuck in that typical sound. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And then lastly, just to finish up with 2009, they appeared on the Priest Fest European tour with Judas Priest and Megadeth. On March the 25th, Testament played a special one-off show at the O2 Islington Academy in London, where they performed the first two albums back-to-back with Sylosis in support. Also, the band set out a 6-week tour across the US to promote Formation of Damnation, with Unearth and Lazarus AD. And then lastly, on April the 9th, 2009, they released a remastered version of the Live in Eindhoven EP on Prosthetic Records. And now we're going into the 2010s.
Okay. So at 2010, they're touring. So they're touring the US with Megadeth and Exodus. And Alex Skolnick was not on that tour because he has his prior obligations. Summer 2010, they toured Australia, opening for Megadeth and Slayer, called the American Carnage Tour. And then they headlined in the Philippines, called Pulp SummerSlam. That was in April 2010. And then they actually toured with Lamb of God. Lamb of God was actually kind of a new band at that time. So then January 2011, there was like this 70,000 tons of metal cruise. And at that time, Billy kind of revealed that they were, writing some more songs, and then they were working on their new album. In May 2011, Alex Skolnick now Paul Bostaph, he couldn't take part in the recording. He had a serious injury. When the part was carried out. So Bostaph was replaced by Gene Hart, who actually played on their 97 album Demonic. They toured some California dates on the Rockstar Energy Drink Mayhem Festival, and continued touring. They toured with Anthrax, the Death Angel. They actually were going to tour with Overkill, but there was a conflict with, they were in the studio for the Electric Age, the Overkill album. John Tempesta, he filled in for Paul Bostaph on the tour. And then they announced officially in 2011, Paul Bostaph left the band officially. And Gene Hogland, he was actually brought back into the band, and he would be in the band. So anyway, the next album, The Dark Roots of Earth, that one was delayed, but they released it on July 27, 2012. And that was cool. You have that one as well. That one's actually their highest charting one, a debut at number 12. Ooh. And it had Lamb of God drummer Chris Adler. He did a bonus track on that one. That's a really good album actually as well. I think it has the song Native Blood. I like that one a lot. Actually, yeah. So actually I'm reading that comment as well. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I'll put it on
later. Rest from Testaments into the Pit. Actually, I never noticed that, but that's actually that's a good Lamb of God album.
Yeah. I see it now. Yeah, I just played it in my head and thought, oh yeah, both intro riffs, very similar. Okay. Yeah,
I'll have to play both songs together. So anyway, we're talking about Dark Roots of Earth. Now, Testament is saying at this point, they want to really work hard to try not to have really long gaps between albums. And I guess the next one did come 4 years later, but I'll get to that in a minute. So 2013, and so that's when they actually start working on their next album. They were kind of shooting for a 2014 release, but that didn't happen. But they did release a DVD double album, Dark Roots of Thrash, in 2013. Then they sold out. That was based on a show at the Paramount in Huntington, New York. And January 2014, Greg Christian left again. and replaced by Steve DeGeorge organ. So Christian Lane, he claimed that it was because of money disputes and musical differences. And anyway, so now it's 2015. Again, this is when they really get serious about recording their album because they were really busy on tour. So I think Chuck Billy wanted to finish it by Thanksgiving, and they had a couple of people fill in for the tours. They played a Canadian open air festival in Montreal. And in May 2016, so Billy confirmed the next album would be Brotherhood of the Snake. So that one, according to him, it's about this society 6,000 years ago that debarred all religions, and just something they were really interested in. It was one of those. That's another great album. They're talking about religion and the aliens, and this one I like too. It's a decent album, like most of their other albums. I think it's good. I think in their catalog, it might rank maybe towards the middle, but I always thought it was a decent album.
Yeah, I've always really enjoyed this and Dark Roots of Earth, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've always really, really, really enjoyed them ever since I first heard them, really.
Yeah.
It'd be, honestly, I think it'd be really hard for me to make a Testament ranking because they're all so on par with each other.
Yeah,
a lot of the albums.
If you did do a ranking, really it would be very, all the albums would be very close. I'll probably do one eventually, but again, that's a good album. It was their second highest position on the Billboard 200, the U.S. charts. Good for them. Then they went on an international tour with Amon Amarth, another cool band. I haven't listened to them in a while. The Sepultura, Prong, Infernal Tenebra. I don't really know well. And they toured with Annihilate Angel. And they toured with Annihilator and Vader. Then with and then Bring in Summer 2018. And they remember that one. That was in October 2019. So by around 2017, I backtrack a little bit. They started to write for the follow-up album, and they would start working on it around 2018. Again, the band they're trying not to have these long gaps, but at this point in the 2010s, they're averaging about 4 years between albums. 3 or 4 is okay. So anyway, where am I? So February 2019, the pre-production began. They have Ape as the mixer. They had that it would be for January 2020. So this and
yeah, I can see. Yeah, JC
That one
keeps cutting
luckily
out.
they were lucky to get Titans of Creation out like before the whole COVID thing and like shut everything down. And
yeah,
and they didn't really yeah. This album, so and then another year and a half.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, so
we're
so
at
now
this
I think
album
they
now.
are. Yeah, so we're talking about Titans of Creation. That's a really good album. You know, what I heard, you know, I wasn't really blown away, but after I listened to it a few more times, I thought it was a really good one.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I
anyway,
think it's really solid as well, yeah.
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 So anyway, so they finally got to tour 2021 because, you know, with the whole pandemic, there's really nothing happening for a long time. Now, 2022, January, so Gene Hoglan announced on their social media they had he left Testament again, and then they announced that Dave Lombardo was rejoining the band, so he would be going on the tour for the North American leg of the Bay Strikes Back tour. And anyway, and that pretty much comes to the end of it because they're talking about doing a new album with Dave Lombardo, and that's kind of really where we are in the present day.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. I mean, I remember when they released this, and as soon as they released this, and you know the whole lockdowns and everything happening, and they started discussing like making a new album almost straight away. So to be honest, it really wouldn't surprise me if they did come out with an album this year, maybe towards the end of the year or maybe start of next year.
It would be cool. So that's cool. So yeah, we'll see what yeah.
This is a shame that the connection, but I guess there's not a lot we can really do about it. But yeah, I just wanted to go through some of these comments from before. So yeah, Metal Connection saying about their newer albums are really diverse. They're quite different. They're more than just a thrash album nowadays. They put a lot more into it. They put some death metal in there, little bits of black metal in there, some really melodic sort of stuff going on, and even like some classical based stuff as well. All sorts, especially like with Titans of Creation, when you've got City of Angels on here, which is almost completely different to everything else on the album, and Ishtar's Gate as well. Both those two songs are almost completely different to the rest of the album. And then the last track, Catacombs, which personally should be the first track, really. But yeah, there is a lot of different stuff going on with their newer stuff. I think that's why it's so strong, to be honest. Yeah. And then Dan Lord says Snape is a great producer, but I hate his mixes. I think a lot of people do, though. A lot of people say that his production isn't very good, but I don't know. I mean, I've got to be honest. A lot of like modern thrash metal albums have that sort of similar production to them, where they're really clean and crisp. You know, you can hear everything that's going on, and I don't know. I know like overproduction sort of doesn't make the music sound too organic, but yeah, a little bit of clean, crisp production doesn't really go amiss for me. I actually quite like a production when you can hear everything really clear.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah. We'll go through. He's not actually signed on to record a new album. Oh, is that about Dave Lombardo? I guess. And I read about he's not. Yeah, okay. All right. So he's just in the band then, I guess, and he's not. He's not going to be playing on a new album, I guess, unless I don't know.
Yeah, but right after the release of that, delayed for a year and a half, so they might want to take some time.
Yeah, definitely.
So that could be what they're doing.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that might be very true. They might just be sort of maybe wanting to just go over some things. Yeah, Dan Lord agrees. He says he thinks he will. He probably will. I mean, I don't really. What's the point in appointing someone into your band and then not wanting to have them record on the album? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, to be honest. So they would have got him in for a reason, because he's a really good drummer, and they obviously would have thought, well, they've worked with him in the past, so would make perfect sense for him to play on it, basically. So yeah, Eric Weinbender has just joined. Nice. Cheers for dropping by. Although unfortunately we kind of done all the history of. We're sort of, I guess, coming to the end of it, but because we've pretty much gone through all the history. If there's anything else anybody wanted to talk about with Testament or anything, you know, if anyone had any sort of final thoughts that they wanted to.
I'm gonna like look at my phone. I want
to. Yeah.
Website to see if they have any.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll just say while you're doing that, I'll just say like that. Yeah, Testament. Before that we made this stream, they're a band that I've always really enjoyed and never really had a lot of time to talk about them that much. So yeah, doing this stream sort of giving us good opportunity to talk about this band. And they're a band that I really do enjoy. Alex Skolnick's guitar playing is just unreal, and especially for me as a guitar player, as a lead guitar player, very, very inspirational for me to listen to some Alex Skolnick guitar solos. And yeah, just get completely blown away. Eric, I've got to sneak in a hello. That's all right. Yeah, that's not a problem, man. We're sort of, well, say we're finishing up, but we're still probably, going to be talking. We've got some comments. Metal Connection. Chuck Billy is an all-time god. His voice sounds so perfect. Yeah, I really enjoy his vocals. I've got to be honest. I think I prefer his like vocals now than back in the day, because it was almost like back in the day he tried to copy James Hetfield a little bit, and sort of, it's almost like, I guess because he didn't know thrash metal vocals that much, he just probably thought, well, let's just try and do what other vocalists are doing at the time, and didn't try anything different. But as his vocals sort of went along and he done his more death metal style vocals, he sort of, now his vocal style, I think his vocals have got a lot better, because it's almost like he's found his own style, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I went out. That was
okay. Right. Okay.
Are you hearing me or no?
Yeah, it's just that it keeps breaking up. It's been doing it a lot, to be honest, throughout the whole stream. But it kind of comes and goes.
Yeah, I was getting that too. I don't know if it's on my side, but
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I mean, my internet connection's pretty crap, to be honest. It's this room. I don't know why, but in this room the internet doesn't come through very well. I don't know why, but yeah, it's just something about this room the internet doesn't like. But yeah, this is the surprise. Chuck Schuldiner didn't record with them. Yeah, that's interesting. That could be another what if. What if Chuck Schuldiner joined Testament? That would have been pretty interesting. I'm just thinking about that now. Would they have like created a death album effectively? That would have been really cool to see. Oh, pardon me. That would have been really cool to see if if Chuck Schuldiner joined Testament, and Testament would pretty much become death then at that point.
Yeah.
That would have been cool to see. Right. So I'm not sure whether, did you find that thing on their website or?
Yeah, I was looking at their official website to see if I could see anything, but the only thing I saw was they posted a lot of like pictures of them on stage. So they didn't really make any announcements. It appears that they're going to be focusing on touring, at this present time. So I don't really think they're. I mean, I think it's just more of like something like maybe they might have mentioned it, but there were no official, announcements or press releases of them like writing a new album. I think they're going to be focused on touring a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe a new year. But yeah, they are making up for lost time.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense for them to just try and get some money back with touring, and then focus on making an album maybe for next year, because then that would be a 3-year gap. So yeah, that sort of would make sense. Yeah, well, I guess if we haven't got anything else to add, and none of the commenters have got anything else to add, we good to wrap things up here? Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, we haven't got anything else to add. Well, okay, so yeah, that was us going through the History Story Testament. Let us know in the comments section down below what other bands you'd like to see us cover next. We were thinking about doing Slipknot next, which we could do, but if there's like a massive demand for people, like for a certain band, we can obviously have a think and maybe go with that. Whatever. Yeah. Massive thanks to John for coming on for this. Yeah, thanks to all the people who's watched, all the comments and the chat. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye. End the broadcast. Oops.